A Stitch Through Time. Every visit to Aunt Josephine's house was an adventure. Ava thought it looked like a fancy museum with curiosities, oddities, and doodads in every corner. Aunt Jo was a collector, adventurer, and world traveler. Ava was pretty sure that was code for pirate. Aunt Jo stored her most prized possessions in an old wooden trunk with a big brass lock. Ava always wondered what was in it. Gold coins? Vintage video games? Snow globes from around the world? Every time Ava asked to see inside, Aunt Jo shook her head. "I'll show you when you're ready," she would say. Then one night, Aunt Jo handed her the key. Ava opened the chest to find an old blanket. "This is no ordinary blanket," Aunt Jo declared. "Each patch of fabric in this quilt comes from an Elizabeth Keckley gown." "Wait, who is Elizabeth Keckley?" asked Ava. "Come on, I'll show you," Aunt Jo replied. Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley was born into slavery in 1818. When she was a little girl, her mother taught her the art of dressmaking. Elizabeth was so skilled with her needle that she became one of the most popular dressmakers in St. Louis. With the aid of her clients, she was able to buy her freedom in 1855. "Wait till you see these hoop skirts," Aunt Jo said. As a free woman, Elizabeth moved to Washington, D.C. to open up her own dress shop. She had to hire 20 seamstresses to help her keep up with orders. Elizabeth's most famous client was Mary Todd Lincoln, wife of President Abraham Lincoln. In 1861, Elizabeth became the personal modiste, or designer, to the First Lady. She even wrote a book about her time in the White House and her friendship with Mrs. Lincoln. "I wish I could wear an Elizabeth Keckley gown," said Ava. "Those are all in museums, but I do have a fancy dress for you to try on," Aunt Jo said, as she reached into her trunk. "Let me introduce you to Cole Lowe." Cole Lowe's mother and grandmother owned a dressmaking business in Montgomery, Alabama in the early 1900s. While they created the latest fashions for high society ladies, young Anne stitched fabric flowers from dress scraps. When she was 19, Anne moved to New York City to attend design school. Because she was Black, Anne was forced to work in a separate classroom from her white peers. This was a difficult time for her, but she worked hard to strengthen her skills in sketching, pattern making, and tailoring. Anne was a star pupil. After graduation, Anne went on to design for department stores like Saks Fifth Avenue, open her own salons, and even work as a fashion journalist. In 1947, she traveled to Paris to write about Fashion Week for the newspaper. "I bet everyone wanted to wear her designs," Ava said. Like Elizabeth Keckley, Cole Lowe designed gowns for famous and wealthy women. Elizabeth and Anne were fashion pioneers who paved the way for many other designers of color, such as Fanny Criss and Zelda Wynne Valdez. "You know, Ava, fashion is more than pretty dresses," Aunt Jo said as she reached into her trunk. "Fashion can be casual, formal, or wearable art. It is a suit, a shoe, or even a hat. Let's meet hat maker to the stars, Mildred Blount. Mildred Blount loved making hats. In 1939, she showcased her talent by creating 87 miniature hats for the World's Fair in New York. Everyone adored Mildred's itty-bitty bonnets and teeny-tiny sun hats. Her exhibit was a huge success. Mildred moved to Hollywood and designed hats for movies, including Gone with the Wind and Easter Parade. She was the first Black member of the Motion Pictures Costumers Union. She also opened up a hat and dress shop in Beverly Hills, where she made everyone feel like a star. I want to design dresses with puffed sleeves and big skirts and flowers, capes, and veils, Ava declared. Aunt Jo closed the trunk and took Ava by the hand. Come on, she said. Let's get started. The end.